we had the moment we've all been waiting for. Shedeur Sanders finally got to start an NFL game. The entire world wants to know what Mel Kiper thought. It is no secret, Mel. You were a believer in Shedeur. You never stopped feeling that way. Now he is 1-0, the first Cleveland Browns quarterback to start 1-0 in this millennium. What was your reaction, first and foremost, Mel?
ESPN's Mel Kiper forewarned the National Football League regarding Shedeur Sanders. In draft rooms and fan forums, it was a declaration that reverberated throughout the entire community. He is an individual with a strong and passionate voice that challenges the entire evaluation process. Shedeur Sanders was not the only player that Kiper, a man who has defined the pre-draft landscape for decades, suggested was good. Putting his reputation on the line, he declared that he was the best quarterback in his entire class and asserted that teams that ignored him were making a tremendous error that would come back to haunt them. He put his reputation on the line. The league was cautioned. They had doubts. They passed all of the tests. And now the evidence that is both shocking and indisputable has arrived. It was much more than just a single game when Shedeur Sanders made his debut as the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. It was the pinnacle of vindication at that decisive moment. Sanders immediately put an end to a losing streak that had lasted for decades of rookie quarterbacks for the Browns. He did this by stepping onto the field and leading his team to a decisive victory. The poise, precision, and surgical accuracy that Kiper had championed from the beginning were all on display when he performed.
Happy for him, for the Cleveland Browns, and obviously the defense. Myles Garrett's ready to set the NFL record. They couldn't block him. There's three things. You talk about, in baseball, what did they say at Bull Durham? You remember, Crinny. What do you throw the ball? Yeah, hit the ball, you catch the ball and all that. And in football, it's really very simple, right? It's BTC. Blocking, tackling, and concentration. That's what I say, blocking, tackling, and concentration. And to me, when you think about this game, they couldn't block him. You can't beat him if you can't block him. But in terms of Shedeur, the operations for a young quarterback, when you see quarterbacks running up, clapping, and then the time's ticking down, and you got to delay a game, or you got to take a timeout, or you end up the game with one timeout left or no timeouts left because the operations weren't good. And he looks a little confused out there. He looks like a deer in headlights. I never saw that. I didn't see it against Baltimore when he was getting hit or the whole second half. So I think the poise, the confidence, by playing in a lot of games in college, both at Jackson State and at Colorado, has helped him.
This is the story of a dramatic, high-stakes warning that was ignored, only to be validated in the most spectacular manner. The warning was issued after only 3 days of first-team practice, and it was issued by a veteran who was in charge of the team. There is no longer any debate. It has come to pass that the prophecy was accurate. It is now official that Shedeur Sanders has risen to prominence. An official notice has been served to the organizations that failed to recognize him. Rewinding the clock to the days leading up to the draft, which were often chaotic, is necessary if we are to have a complete understanding of the significance of current events. Mel Kiper Jr., a man whose name is synonymous with draft analysis, discovered that he encountered an increasing amount of isolation regarding the matter of Shedeur Sanders. Kiper had a clear and unambiguous answer to the question, despite the fact that the general consensus regarding quarterbacks was fragmented and that numerous names were being thrown around for the first-round spot. A number of passers who were receiving significantly more buzz and were widely projected to receive higher draft capital were positioned ahead of Sanders as a result of his tireless advocacy for Sanders' cause. There was a tremendous amount of pressure placed on Sanders to perform well in his first NFL game. He had been handed over a struggling team in the middle of the season, which was a challenging circumstance for him to deal with. The quiet, unflappable command of the game's most intricate operational elements was what stood out immediately, as Kiper later detailed in his comprehensive post-game analysis. This was the thing that stood out the most, rather than any single spectacular highlight. The analyst argued that these experiences provided the essential psychological foundation for a smooth and mature transition to the demanding speed of the professional game, which is a demanding speed. Accuracy, on the other hand, was the one quality that Kiper had emphasized from the very beginning, and it was the one that received the most enthusiastic praise. Surgical precision was on full display in Sanders' demonstration. In his description of him, Kiper referred to him as a surgeon and emphasized that his throws were precise, disciplined, and unerring when he was given a clean pocket and the critical opportunity to act.
And certainly, I think when you think about the plays that he made down the field. We talk about accuracy with him. That was the thing about him. He's so accurate. He can be a surgeon. If you just give him a fortress in front of him, give him some time, he can be a surgeon. And some of the throws he made, and he only had the one sack where he almost got it back to the line of scrimmage. It wasn't an 8, 9, 10-yard loss. It was, 2 yards, and he almost got it back to the line of scrimmage. He got the ball out. He showed touch. When he had to let it rip, he did. He had the one bad throw when the linebacker sunk in the hook zone, and he picked it off. Okay, that happens. Baker had a bad pick against the Bills and turned that game a couple weeks ago. It all happens. They're going to learn from mistakes. In order to get better, you got to make mistakes. And you learn from those mistakes, and he'll keep making them. And he's going to have uneven performances. He'll have some good, bad, and ugly. That's just the nature of being a rookie quarterback in this league who never played with the ones, right? But I think for Shedeur, I feel good because everything I see with him, he looked like an NFL starting quarterback. And that's the most important thing you can say about a rookie in this league.
The analysis made a significant observation about how skilled Sanders was at minimizing the effects of negative outcomes, because he scrambled back to ensure that the loss was limited to a negligible 2 yards rather than a catastrophic drop. He demonstrated an innate understanding of situational football, even on the one and only sack that he successfully took. The coaching staff was involved in a sharp and frustrating point of contention that arose in the midst of the celebratory atmosphere that surrounded the win of a significant victory by a rookie quarterback. The head coach's decision to not hand the game ball to Shedeur Sanders in the locker room was met with a great deal of dissatisfaction from the players and coaches. However, defensive star Myles Garrett was the recipient of the honor. The sentiment was that this was a monumental error in judgment and a missed opportunity for the coach to recognize a truly historic and motivating moment. This is despite the fact that Garrett's contributions are indisputable and indisputable with certainty. Due to the significance of the facts surrounding the victory, it is impossible to ignore them. Sanders was the first quarterback in Browns history to win his first career start since 1995. Prior to Sanders, the Browns had not succeeded in doing so. The significance of the accomplishment is further highlighted by the fact that this astounding statistic is considered to be unusual. Shedeur Sanders' sensational and historic debut has finally come to a close, and the message that came out of it is still resonating. The franchise's future has been radically and irrevocably reimagined as a result of the arrival of a star. The cautionary statement made by Mel Kiper Jr., which was initially disregarded by a league that was skeptical, has now become the bedrock truth of the season. The fact that Sanders is poised, accurate, a meticulous operator, and a natural leader who is capable of commanding an NFL offense in an effective manner is proving to be everything that was advertised about him.
I never go into anything overconfident, where it's a game. My high school Calvert Hall, when we were winning championship, I didn't go into any of those games like, oh, we're going to win this game, or I go in nervous about every game and about every player I like. I will never, Josh Allen, same way, never going to ever do, never will you ever see me do a victory lap. I always consider myself, and Green knows this, I consider myself a defense attorney for a lot of young players who are unfairly criticized. So yeah. I always tell Green out in draft day, it's like, that's what you feel like, a defense attorney, because you get all this craziness thrust upon these players, and a lot of it's just complete BS.
Both construction and unwavering focus are required for the organization to take the next critical step, which is a two-step process. As a franchise quarterback, they must make a complete and unwavering commitment to Sanders, and they must give up any idea of looking elsewhere or attempting to revert to their previous actions. Additionally, they need to construct the infrastructure around him in a strategic manner. The acquisition of dynamic wide receivers who are capable of maximizing Sanders' surgical accuracy and playmaking ability is required for this. Additionally, an immediate and substantial investment in the offensive line is required in order to provide the fortress that Kiper mentioned. The team needs to address the philosophical disconnect that appears to exist within the coaching ranks as soon as possible. This is perhaps the most urgent matter. Sanders should have a head coach and offensive coordinator who will provide him with unwavering support as he continues to develop. Create a system of offense that is perfectly tailored to his individual strengths, and create an environment that is conducive to genuine championship ambition.